I would also like to recognize the many West Valley mayors and council members joining us today. The list is long because this is such an important event for WESTMARC. I would like to recognize Councilmember Nielsen from the city of Avondale, Councilmember Goodman from the city of Buckeye, Mayor Hermosillo from the city of El Mirage, Councilmember Malnar from the city of Glendale, Mayor Lord from the city of Goodyear, Vice Mayor Faith from the city of Litchfield Park, Councilmember Guadardo from the city of Phoenix, and Councilmember Duffy from the city of Surprise. The West Valley's leadership capital is powerful, and it is a great strength to our West Valley and to the state. We also have many fellow WESTMARC board members joining us today, which is actually the reason why we're here. So now to get into a bit of the business, you all have the proposed slate as an attachment, which was provided before this meeting. When I ask for a vote, you'll be able to vote electronically. So now may I please have a motion to approve the 2021 WESTMARC Board of Directors. Thank you. We have the motion from Neil Terry. May I get a second?
Second.
And we have a second from Bridget Swartz-Mannock. Thank you. Now each of you will be able to vote. So if you could please vote electronically, and we will look at the votes here in about less than a minute. It looks like we have received the votes and the motion passes. So congratulations and welcome to the 2021 WESTMARC Board of Directors. I wish you were all here that I could congratulate you personally, but we'll look forward to connecting as soon as we can. And before I officially pass the keys over to Neil Terry, I'd like to share my experiences over the past 2 years as chairman. First, I want to thank the members, the board, the executive committee, and Sintra and the WESTMARC staff for all of your efforts over the past 2 years. It's been a great opportunity to serve as the WESTMARC chairman for the past 2 years and as the chairman-elect for 2 years before that. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to play a role in all of the exciting developments of the West Valley over the past 4 years. I'm incredibly excited to see where we go from here. As I just take a moment to reflect on everything that's happened, every day, every week, it seems that we have a new news article, announcement about all of the new development around here, the growth in our quality of life, the new exciting opportunities that we have. And as someone that grew up in Litchfield Park and Avondale, it's pretty amazing to see where it grew from my grandfather building homes basically in cotton fields to everything that's just grown around us. So it's been a lifetime of seeing tremendous growth that I think is just going to continue. Also, looking at my term as chairman, it almost breaks evenly into pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we were really working on, we redid our bylaws, we were redoing materials, really building the infrastructure for what we thought we could be as an organization. After COVID, it almost became about survival. But the great thing is, not only did we survive, we had the opportunity to thrive. And I really think, again, Sintra, the WESTMARC team deserve a tremendous amount of credit for their ability to innovate, to really connect with our members, to keep the momentum, to grow our membership, to grow our financial standing, create new revenue streams, come up with events like today, where we don't get to be in person, but we have a large number of participants here today. Estrella Mountain Community College is a great partner. We've had a lot of great partners through the pandemic, really open their doors and welcome us to use their technology to help us figure this out, and to really just continue to build the momentum. So again, just thank you to everybody. It's been a fun ride. It's been a different ride than I thought it might be. But I really appreciated the opportunity to help guide this through a difficult time. And now I just really look forward to Neil Terry. I think he's going to do a tremendous job continuing what we've built, growing it even further. And for those of you that don't know Neil, what a nice guy, a thoughtful guy. And I look forward to continuing to support him in any way that I can. So with that, I want to welcome Neil Terry.
They had to wipe this podium down because I don't know what John had. But before John leaves the area right here, I'd like to give him a token of our appreciation, the membership, the board, and everybody here at WESTMARC. You know, we just have enjoyed your leadership, and we have this plaque for you to commemorate your leadership the past 2 years. It has been quite a ride, so to speak. You know, so. I think Sintra has something for you as well. So we're gonna get everybody up here, which is probably against all the CDC guidelines.
I think, yeah, I think we're skirting the CDC issues here. So John, on behalf of the team, myself, the team, you have been just tremendous to work with. You've been extremely supportive to us, as you know, and become a friend and a neighbor. I'm so glad we're going to be running into each other in the neighborhood, but you're not getting away from us. But this is something for you and Lauren to enjoy. I know that she has a good time and she takes care of things and she's the organized one. And so I'm not saying that you're not. However, I think this is something from us that you guys can just have a great time with. So
Wonderful.
So thank you again. Hugs and virtual kisses,
I know,
right?
hugs, fist bumps, all the stuff. But
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'm not going anywhere. I look forward to continuing helping in any way that I can.
Oh, we'll have you there.
Well,
You don't have a
we're
choice.
relying on that.
Oh, fair enough. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Thank you, everybody.
Well, I want to thank everybody at WESTMARC for this vote of confidence. I had some notes here. It's not very long, don't worry. I'm honored to serve as your chair for the next 2 years. And I want to thank John again for his leadership and for setting a great example of what I have to follow in order to make sure that WESTMARC continues doing the great things that it does today. So, who would have thought that last year's annual meeting that we'd be 1 year later, meeting virtually, waiting for everyone to be vaccinated or for herd immunity. But despite all of that, and because of the leadership of John and the efforts of Sintra Hoffman and her staff, WESTMARC has continued to bring meaningful and relevant programs and initiatives to the West Valley that ensure that we have the quality of life that we all want to see here. So I'm taking over as chair at an interesting time, as John mentioned. Half of his term was under COVID. I'm hoping that I won't have to wait for half my term before we get out of this pandemic lockdown. But many of you know me, but I don't know how much you know about me. I'm not originally from Arizona. I'm actually from Idaho, having grown up on a farm there. But I've lived almost 40 years here in Arizona, most of which have been in the West Valley. And I've seen the West Valley grow from small towns separated by farm fields into what it is today, with being cities connected to one another. And that's what makes WESTMARC so important. I'm married to Chris, my wife, who's from New York, and that's a whole question everybody has about how did a city girl meet up with a farm boy. But one day maybe we can in person talk about that. Together, we're going to celebrate our 29th anniversary here in May, so I have to put that in there because that's important. Together, we have a beautiful 27-year-old daughter, Annabelle, who's in her second year at medical school. and hopefully will be off of our payroll here pretty soon. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Professionally, I joined the architectural firm of Orcott Winslow some time ago and currently serve as one of its managing partners. And I've had the privilege of designing several school and healthcare projects here in the West Valley. So there's a strong connection for me both personally and professionally here in the West Valley. You know, some time ago, Herman encouraged me to get involved with Leadership West, and I graduated from class 9. I have to say, up until that point, I did my job. I was focused on my work, but I never looked around and really paid attention to what was happening in my community. But that changed with Leadership West. I'm grateful for that. And since then, I've gotten involved in a number of organizations, of course, WESTMARC being one of those. And I'm honored today to serve as your chair. So I want to assure the membership of WESTMARC that my goal is to not rest on the laurels of my predecessors. I'm grateful for the leadership of Bobby Magdaleno and John, who preceded me. Wonderful example of what leadership is all about, and have taken this organization, I truly believe, to great heights. And so my goal is not to sit back and rest on those laurels, but to amplify and to push to make sure that we're more relevant when it comes to the West Valley. Now, we've heard about the projections, well, one of those things, of growth in the West Valley. I think all of us have heard Greg Vogel from Land Advisors talk about how there's projected to be 500,000 more people here that will call the West Valley home. And I think it's important how we grow and how we ensure that there's continued quality of life. And I think WESTMARC, as I've said before, WESTMARC stands as that Venn diagram intersection of business, community, and educational leaders to ensure that all these common interests that we share are taken care of and solutions found. Because of that growth, we're seeing a lot of new members join WESTMARC because they want to be here and contribute and make those connections that are so important. And I want to thank you and welcome you to WESTMARC. And along with you and our existing members, I want to encourage you to get involved in WESTMARC, serve on committees, attend those functions and events that we have that mean so much to us. And I don't want to steal Sintra's thunder here in a moment, but one of the initiatives I'm really excited about is our series of roundtables with the cities so that our business and educational and other community members can learn about what the cities are doing. It's so important to connect those dots the way I see it. So I could go on, but I don't want to take everybody's time. We've got a really good program today. So I'd like to introduce our president and CEO, Sintra Hoffman, who's going to talk about the past year and our accomplishments, as well as talk about what exciting things we have on tap for 2021. Again, thank you for allowing me to serve as your chair, and I'm going to turn the time over to Sintra. Sintra?
Well, good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I honestly wish it was in person like we were at the casino last year. That was so much fun. But here we are. We're still able to connect and think about new ways to bring you information. So again, I'd like to thank John Howard for his leadership and guidance and mostly friendship. Neil pointed it out. We've had some great leadership with Bobby and John, and Neil coming into the fold over the last 5 years of my time here. So it really, truly has been a joy. Sometimes a joy ride up and down, but overall, it's been an awesome experience. So in doing so, I'd like to recap last year. And you may wonder, why in the heck would I want to go back to 2020? And I do want to go back and take a look at it because as challenging, anxiety-filled, all of the above, that the year that it was, it really brought out new heights in WESTMARC, the team and the membership and the leadership of the organization. It really took us to a different level in terms of creativity and innovation. And so with that, I'd like to first acknowledge our board of directors and the team who stuck with me and did all these, just rode the wave with the change. And then the board who consistently supported all of the new programs and all of the new ideas that we had. So I'd like to show you a video, because a video of pictures worth 1,000 words. And so we have way more than 1,000 words of last year's accomplishments. So with that, please take a look at the video.
Breaking news. The first death from coronavirus here in the United States.
This is Sintra Hoffman. Hey, good morning. I am so excited to talk to you this morning about a new series that we're launching. It's called The West Valley is Open for Business. It's virtual tours of sites that are out here in the West Valley that are under construction and ready for your clients. see why I had to show you that video. And thanks for bearing with us through the little technology glitch. But we had such a tremendous year. There's so many things that happened at WESTMARC that it was really, this was the best way for us to explain that to you or show that to you. So as we enter into 2021, which now we're, 6 weeks into the year, we've already energized our marketing committee, and they are meeting monthly because we're increasing our efforts to attract those out-of-state residents. We want to add to our already strong workforce, and that's the way we'll be able to do it. With doing so, we'll be partnering with the AC, with the Arizona Commerce Authority, with GPAC, with the City of Phoenix, with many others in making sure that we're all on the same page with that message, free to be me in Arizona, or free to be me. We've learned that through the pandemic, our workforce has had the opportunity to work from home, and our cities saw that benefit in their pocketbooks. We saw that residents were able to work locally and spend locally. So we know that we have the buying power in the West Valley. Our household income is on the rise, as you saw. Jobs are still coming to us, as you see in the news every day. And rooftops are still going up in great quality, high quality and luxury communities around the West Valley. So folks are getting it. We're also re-energizing our efforts to attract Class A office. In the past, we were kind of a little bit behind the 8 ball with that. Folks wanted existing space. Through the pandemic, people are rethinking that. They're rethinking how they want to come back, the environments that they want to come back in. And all of a sudden, the suburban Class A office market is going to start emerging. We've already heard a little bit of uptick on that interest from our friends at GPAC, and we'll continue that messaging coming this spring. So with that, we also continue to promote the benefits of our geographical area. You all know that transportation infrastructure investments have been strong in the West Valley, and we see those benefits every day as we drive our freeways. We see those economic development opportunities that are all along the freeway. With the opening of the Loop 202, and we're now really able to attract workers from the East Valley and start changing those commute patterns. And yes, I know that my friends in the East Valley like to say that the 202 is going to open up a bigger way to get our West Valley workforce out, but I say that's a two-way street, and they're coming this way too, and we have more affordable opportunities here in the West Valley. So this really is the area of opportunity. By far, our demographics are continuing to change. Last month, we launched a new series sponsored by SRP called West Valley Hot Topics, and we kicked it off with the topic of growth. And our friends from MAG shared some recent updates on demographic information, and the West Valley's median age is now 35 years old. I'm particularly proud of this because when I joined WESTMARC 5 years ago, the uphill battle was proving that we were not just a retirement community, that we actually have a lot of young people in this region. And so there's another stat, and I am by far not an East versus West girl, but the East Valley's median age is 36 years old, inclusive of the ASU Tempe campus. That's pretty astounding. So we really have our job cut out for us in the West Valley to make sure that we're creating the opportunities to retain our young talent here. The statistics tell us that many residents already know, that this is a great community. This is a high earning community, and this is the place of the future. Over the next 20 years, over 50% of the growth in Maricopa County will occur in the West Valley. And we are the 4th largest county in the nation, is Maricopa County. So that brings us to our topic today, our featured topic, which is young talent attraction. I like to say go West young talent, hashtag go West young talent. Over the last 5 years, as you all know, we've been focused on workforce. And this year we launched another new series called West Valley Industry Spotlight, where this series we highlight one of the 6 targeted industries each time around. So it's every other month. And this partnership is bigger than just the West Valley. We're partnering with Arizona at Work, Pipeline AZ, and Brightworks Consulting. And it really is bringing together our employers, our education partners, and our job seekers, because we want them to work here locally. And ASU is our great sponsor of that series, so we're excited about that. Today, we have a strong foundation of young talent, great K-12 and post-secondary partners and business partners who continue to invest in the workforce. But now, as we move forward into the next 30 years of WESTMARC's life, we now have to start really identifying and highlighting our young talent because they're really our future. They're really the ones that we have to make sure that they're standing at this podium in several years, giving the great news about the West Valley. So with that background, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker today. Dr. Sybil Francis is the president and CEO for the Center of the Future of Arizona. We call it CFA. CFA is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping shape and define Arizona's future through action-oriented agenda and focused on issues and topics that are critical to the state. She serves on a number of boards, including Arizona Business and Education Coalition, the Nature Conservancy Arizona Chapter, and Global Pathways Institute. Her resume and background is truly rich with cultural, political, and educational contributions that she has made to communities that she served in the East Coast as well as here in Arizona. Her credentials and connections are endless. I read her bio and I was blown away, so I had to condense it, and this is condensed. Her role as president and CEO for CFA, she is now focusing on enriching the quality of life in our state and building out the Arizona we want. Please welcome Dr. Sybil Francis.
Thank you so much, Sintra. I hope that you can see me. I hope that my slides are up. Okay, good. Because this is the new normal, right? And I just have to congratulate you all for doing this hybrid version, because I know you are in person. You've got over 100 people joining you on Zoom, and I'm one of those. You're going to have a live panel after this. This is really quite remarkable. And as you said, we've all had to pivot. So congratulations, Sintra, and to WESTMARC for all your incredible accomplishments this year, including the pivot to this sort of new world. What interesting statistics about the median age in the West Valley, and congratulations to you for having this very forward-looking, future-oriented vision for how your area will develop. It's really impressive. And of course, as the Center for the Future of Arizona, we love to think about the future. And of course, our young people and our young talent, which is really what I want to kind of help pivot to this panel today. But I thought I'd share a little bit about the Center for the Future of Arizona to make sure that, to give a little bit of context to our interest in young talent. Of course, the future are our young people. So of course, that's a natural thing for us to think about. But the Center for the Future of Arizona is a nonpartisan and non-political 501c3 nonprofit organization. Some of you may be ASU graduates out there, I don't know, but Laddie Kaur, the former president of ASU, and I started the center in 2002. It was me and him and his assistant, and we've now become a pretty significant organization and impactful organization in the state. Our mission is to bring Arizonans together to create a stronger and brighter future for our state. So that is really the core of what we are about. We advance, okay, now I need to make sure I can advance my slides. Okay, did that work? No, let's see. Okay, so that's our mission. So we advance something that we call the Arizona We Want, which is a shared vision of success around what matters most to Arizonans and expresses their highest aspirations and hopes for the future. And we're committed to achieving, to advancing an agenda dedicated to achieving prosperity, quality of life, and opportunity for all Arizonans. And we have deep work ourselves across the state with partners in education, workforce, and civic engagement. And you can see here the impact that we've had. As I mentioned, we are statewide and we do a lot of our work through partnerships. So for example, some of the things that we've done with WESTMARC that I'll mention in a minute. But we've impacted 300,000 students statewide through some of our education work. We have a school leadership training program called Beat the Odds, and have also helped develop over 14,000 teachers, 530 plus education leaders trained. We work with industry partners, especially when we're thinking about careers and career pathways. And we work through something we call community conversations, which is how do we bring data to decision-making and action. And so that's very much about how we do our work. I mentioned the Arizona We Want, and I'll say more in a minute about how we come up with this idea that Arizonans actually have much more agreement than you might imagine about the outcomes that we want for our state. We might not all agree on how to get there, but the Arizona We Want, we measure how we're doing in Arizona through what we call progress meters. And you can see the progress meters listed on the screen here. And these, if you go to our website, you can click on these icons and you can go to data about each of these areas of interest to us as a center, and of course to our future as of the state. So you'll see included in there, of course, is young talent, but you'll also see jobs, education, natural resources, infrastructure was mentioned earlier. So this is how we report, how we measure and report on how we're doing as a state in these areas. And what I like to say is, you know, we're awash in data. So data are not that hard to come by, but I think what the value add that we have is, one, we present data that Arizonans have said matters to them, and we also curate it, meaning we pick, you know, key metrics that can help give a snapshot about how we're doing so that you can quickly try to make sense of an area when you come to our website. You can see we have a number of kind of milestone or reports. Our first one, the Arizona We Want, was the result of listening to Arizonans very carefully about what matters most to them. And we have a number of other reports that we've issued since then, including the Beat the Odds, which was the school leadership program that I mentioned to you. I said we listen to Arizonans, that the agenda that the CFA advances to bring Arizonans together and create a stronger and brighter future for our state it's not an agenda that we create as the Center for the Future of Arizona. We actually listen to Arizonans. One of the main ways that we do this is through our partnership with the Gallup organization. I'm sure you're all familiar with this really global organization that is the gold standard when it comes to surveys and polls. We first partnered with Gallup in 2009 to ask questions across that broad range of areas that were represented in the progress meters about what Arizonans themselves thought was important to the future of our state. And that's really where we came up with the concept of the Arizona We Want. We are very excited that we're partnering with Gallup again and conducted our second decennial survey of Arizonans in the fall of 2020. Of course, the timing was really kind of unique in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of an election. But you know, the issues that we asked about were really long-term things that really matter to our future. So really it was about identifying what matters most to Arizonans across that broad set of issues that I mentioned. Our way of working is to share data and results to help inform policy making and action. And that's a little bit of what I'm going to do in a minute when I talk about the results of our young talent work. We work with communities to help mobilize communities and leaders around these shared priorities represented in the Arizona We Want. And this helps us create a statewide agenda around what unites us as Arizona. So I wanted to kind of transition to our work with the young talent, because of course, as I said, the young people are our future, and what is on the minds of young talent is really important for leaders to understand. And I'm looking forward to the panel, and many of whom were, I think all of them actually were part of our young talent group. So one of our most recent reports is called the Arizona We Want, the Voice of Young Arizonans. And throughout this process of trying to understand what young people have on their minds in Arizona is we started off by conducting 20 focus groups across the state to really understand what young people in Arizona have on their minds. We also, following that, when we identified some of those issues, put out a survey with 2,000 responses that we got from young people across the state. And as part of that process, we also launched a new young talent advisory of 25 amazing and dynamic rising leaders from across the state. WESTMARC, I just want to thank WESTMARC for being a pivotal partner in this effort, engaging with us in hosting a focus group, distributing the survey, and really partnering with us in this work. It's been very, very valuable to us. So I'd like to thank WESTMARC for that. And WESTMARC is, the West Valley, as was mentioned earlier, is also a critical place to have this conversation with a booming population of 1.7 million residents, a median age of 35. This is truly the next frontier in creating communities and workplaces where young people will thrive and stay long-term. So today what I want to do is just share a little bit, give you a taste of the kind of things that we found through our work with our young talent advisory group, through the survey, and through these focus groups. I should also say that our new Gallup survey is also going to give us incredible information about young people across the state, a very scientifically, statistically valid set of respondents that we got. And I do want to say thank you as well to WESTMARC for being a sponsor of that work and of the April event where we will be releasing the results of this report. But really, one of the things that caught our attention was this slide that you see: do young Arizonans stay in Arizona long-term? And so this kind of piqued our interest also in understanding what was driving young Arizonans to stay in Arizona and also to be leaving. So if you look at this slide, you can see that about 20% of the graduates of our state universities leave the state as soon as they've graduated. So this was data that we actually got from ABOR. But after about 15 years, 10, 15 years, you can see that only about half of those young people remain in Arizona. Of course, they're a little bit older by then, but they're still considered in our young talent group. So the question is, what is it that's going on? Why are they leaving? And because I think we can agree that that's a point at which in a young person's career that they are, they've got some experience under their belts, they're starting to move up in their careers, and they really are very, very valuable resource and asset for any state to have. So I'm going to cover about 4 themes that we considered in our work, and I believe that the panelists who are members of our Young Talent Advisory Group, by the way, I believe they're going to be also focusing on these themes in their discussion that's coming up in a moment. So one of the things that is very clear to us with our young talent work and in our conversations with young Arizonans is that we heard they're very, very hungry for opportunity and are especially understand very strongly in the importance of education as a vehicle for achieving long-term mobility. In fact, interestingly, K-12 education and the quality of our K-12 system was the top rated issue in our survey among young Arizonans, even ones who didn't have children yet. To measure how we're doing on those concerns, we've turned to our very own education progress meter, and you saw that icon earlier, to take a look at our comprehensive look at our education system. And some of you may be aware that in Arizona, we have embraced the goal of 60% of Arizonans having achieved some kind of post-secondary credential, whether that's a technical certificate, a community college degree, or a 4-year university degree. We're only at about 46%, you can see on your screen there. Only 6% of our population from 25 to 64 has some kind of credential, and we need to be at 60% according to this goal that we've set for ourselves. So this is an example of how our education data through our progress meter can be helpful. And so we know that access to a high quality education is critical to our young talent, as well as broader issues that we've been hearing about in terms of cost of living and housing to be able to build a future here. Another thing we heard about quite a lot is the question of the ability to advance your career and career mobility. And this is something that we've heard quite a bit about, that young people, when they reach a certain age that we're looking at, feel that they may have to leave the state in order to advance their careers, which is something we definitely need to be thinking about. Another kind of theme that we're looking at is leadership. And it's very clear that we heard loud and clear that young people have a very strong desire to be listened to be engaged, and to have a voice, and to find a community to feel connected and to have impact. So this is very important to our young talent. And it was interesting because 2 of the leaders of our team who were conducting the focus groups were a little bit on the older side, shall we say. And at first I was a bit concerned about this because I thought the young people that they're talking to won't really necessarily relate to them. But it was very interesting to realize that they were really happy to be sharing their views with these folks, because it gave them the sense that there was this connection between the generations, and that the older, more experienced people really were interested in their views and cared. So I think a desire to be heard as well as to have an impact really came through in our speaking with young talent. The question of health and kind of the related question of sustainability, particularly the environment, were very strong responses in our groups. In all parts of the state, we heard from young Arizonans about the need to reimagine our concept of health and our healthcare system, that we really need to be thinking more holistically. We heard about concerns with access to healthcare and the cost of health care, navigating the system, and the quality of care. We also heard very loud and clear the need to bring visibility to the mental health crisis impacting young people in particular, and to really be, particularly in this time of COVID, this has been especially critical. And young people especially were very concerned and interested about making sure that our state has a long-term vision and planning when it comes to issues like water and environmental sustainability, and how do we make sure that we have sustainability of our natural resources going forward, and that's balanced with economic growth and the impacts on generations to come. So one of the things that we also heard from our young people was it's great to have a good job, but really they want to, they have a strong desire to grow and thrive in purpose-filled careers. They care about sustainability, fairness, inclusion, diversity. So it's not enough to have a good job. It's what is the culture of your workplace that's important. Certainly working in places where they see a path to growth is important to young Arizonans across the state. And I think if you think back on that data showing our young talent leaving 10 to 15 years out after graduation, what would it mean to have a dynamic economy with great opportunities to continue to contribute their skills and advance with supportive leaders and mentors along the way? This would really make a huge difference for that group. So those are 4 of the themes that that kind of emerged from our focus groups, our survey, and then from our young talent advisory group that is now up and running. And so I just wanted to spend a minute before closing to talk about opportunities. The results of our statewide survey and the data made available through the Young Talent Progress Meter will inform an ongoing strategy led by Slate to spark dialogue and prompt issues Arizona people say matter, because we're all about turning ideas into action. My partner had coined the term "do tank" for how he describes, what our objectives are at the Center for the Future of Arizona. We're committed to engaging young leaders statewide to amplify their voices and stories, using data to bring awareness to their concerns and opportunities for growth, and sparking action that will create change on the priorities that are to young people and that impact our long-term future as a state. So our work with young people is one piece of a larger agenda for how we fulfill the hopes and dreams of Arizonans, but of course our young are so important to that. So we are so pleased to partner with WESTMARC, as we know that there's so much work going on in the West Valley. It's directly in tune with the issues on the minds of the young people today, particularly given your age demographic. Creating vibrant communities, great opportunities, and a strong quality of life here will make a huge impact on creating a state where young people can thrive for the long term. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you. I'm so excited to hear from the young the panel that's following, because as I said, we are very familiar with them based on our working with them and their role on our Young Talent Advisory Group. So I just want to say thank you all again. Congratulations to you for this wonderful meeting, as well as for all your impactful work. So with that, I think I stopped screen sharing, I believe. I'm not sure what the technical process is here. I hope I don't mess up, but thank you all so much. And I'll look forward to hearing the rest of the conversation.
Some things to think about. So while you're right, I'm very excited that our median age is on the decline in terms of it's 35, we're getting younger, but now you're telling me that they're only going to stay here for a while, and then we have to figure out how to keep them happy, entertained, employed gainfully, and moving to that next level if we want to keep them so that they are standing here in the future at the podium addressing the community. So with that, that is why it's so important that we have this discussion today, because we think we know what we need to do, but the reality is the folks that you'll be hearing from in a little bit are really the ones that are they're the ones that have the answers, or at least the pathway to get us to where we need to go. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. We have Noah Wolf. He is the Director of Alumni at Grand Canyon University. Susie Boyles, the Economic Development Manager at the City of Buckeye, and Kylie Gutting, the Director of Member Engagement and Community Partnerships at Greater Phoenix Leadership. So welcome to our panel. Thank you. So I guess I'll kick it off with kind of a general question for all of you, and we'll start, I guess you'll self-select who you start with. That's leadership right there, right? Tell us about your organization. Tell us about the role that you play and how this topic in developing and attracting and retaining young talent aligns with your goals.
Well, thanks, Sintra, and thanks everybody on the call today for the work that you guys are doing in your communities. It's making a major impact, whether you know it or not, on the work that CFA is doing and on young talent progression in the West Valley. I actually got introduced to CFA through WESTMARC. There was a roundtable conversation that they facilitated with other young professionals, just talking through what could the future look like for the state of Arizona if we all came together and collaborated with one another. And I remember walking away from that conversation just so grateful that I was a part of a community that cared about my age group and my peers. And so the work that you guys are doing to champion inclusivity is leading to some amazing impact in the world of young talent progression. So I wanted to start off by saying that. I think we're in a really unique season in the state of Arizona's history. You have hundreds of people moving here per day. You have cities like Los Angeles and Denver and Seattle where the cost of living is just so high that young professionals are really looking to the state of Arizona as a place where they can build their future careers and homes and families. And I think that is exciting. GCU could not be more excited to be in the middle of that and serve in the middle of that. I get to work with an incredible team of individuals over at Grand Canyon who are responsible for investing into our alumni base. Currently, we have about 200,000 graduates across the country, and that number is projected to grow significantly over the course of the next 10 years. By 2030, we're looking at about 600,000 GCU grads nationwide, many of whom are going to be residents of Arizona. In the Valley, currently, we have about 38,000 graduates, 22,000 of which are located in the West Valley. So the West Valley represents very nicely in that number. And as we continue to have graduating classes of 25 and 30 and 35,000, we want to ensure that they're seeking employment opportunities in this state. I think the balance of our service really hangs in whether or not a student can go out and get a job. And so that's why GCU's really wanted to remain committed to providing affordable and accessible education. We're on our 13th year of frozen tuition now, which is something that's really exciting for us. And we think that has led to an incredible student body that's very diverse. 48% of our students are students of color and are passionate about serving the community. We're running a vaccination center, a distribution center for COVID-19 vaccinations out of our campus right now. We've given about 20,000 hours of community service to home renovation projects in the West Valley over the course of the past couple of years, which has led to an increase of housing valuations in our zip code north of 300%. We're trying to hire more young professionals in our system as well. So we've tripled the amount of individuals working at the university over the course of the past 10 years, many of those individuals on the age of 35. And then the last thing I would say is we're really trying to launch more businesses and ventures in the West Valley that can serve as employment opportunities for young professionals as well. So we currently have a golf course, a hotel, a couple of restaurants, a merchandise company, an ad agency, and then something called Canyon Ventures, which is launching professional entrepreneur ventures into the West Valley. So we've got about 30 ventures going through that program, over 100 young professionals in that program, but we can always do more. And so the work that CFA is doing is really exciting for us because it's going to allow us to navigate how we can build healthy partnerships with community stakeholders in the West Valley and continue to grow young talent progression as a whole.
Thank you.
I'll go next. So I'm Susie Boyles, and I am the Economic Development Manager for the City of Buckeye. Real quick about me, I'm actually an Arizona native, born and raised right here in the West Valley. And so this is a very important topic for me. And I'm really excited to be here with my colleagues, mainly because in the world of economic development, we are finding that workforce continues to be the main deciding factor on businesses that want to locate to Arizona, that want to expand in Arizona. And so, as you heard earlier, our young talent and our young professionals, we are the current and future workforce here in the West Valley. And so I'm just excited to be part of this conversation because from an economic development perspective, looking at our young talent and figuring out how can we retain them here and engage them, because that is a big part of the business decisions that are being made and the investments that are being made in the West Valley. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Susie.
It's great to see everyone. I haven't seen anybody for a long time, so I'm very grateful to be here too, and very grateful that you've included Greater Phoenix leadership in this. And we are a leading association of CEOs. We try to speak broadly for the Greater Phoenix region. In partnership, we work with our sister organizations in Northern Arizona, the Northern Arizona Leadership Alliance, and the Southern Arizona Leadership Council to provide a CEO and business voice across the state. The long-term vision of the state is incredibly important to our members. We try to get behind bold ideas to propel Arizona into the next 50 years. And this topic is incredibly important to CEOs who want to retain and attract and ensure that there's a pipeline for the young talent within their organizations. So thanks for having us.
So Carly, I'm gonna lead with you. How do you connect into this group? So you're in Greater Phoenix. How are you connecting in with the West Valley? Why are we important? Why are you here?
We have members. Our membership is 150 individuals. So we're all over Greater Phoenix, in the West Valley, in the East Valley. Their organizations are all across Metro Phoenix. A lot of growth has been happening in the West Valley. I saw that 40% of all the population growth is going to be occurring in the West Valley by 2030. So it's incredibly important that we, as young professionals, get out there and talk about what's important to us and what we expect in a workplace culture, so that CEOs know and legislators and policymakers and lawmakers can shape the environment that we are hoping in the Arizona that we want.
Awesome, thank you. So we've listened to Dr. Francis. Workplace culture is ranked pretty high by young Arizonans when they think of future employment. They seek employment opportunities where they want to make sure that they have a path where they're going to grow. So Noah, can you share a little bit about the work that you're doing at GCU to connect and prepare young people for this type of long-term mobility? And what do we need to start thinking about long-term so that we can create successful strategies in workforce development and workplace culture?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was getting ready to graduate, I was asking myself a lot of questions. I think one, obviously, am I going to get a job? But after that, I think there was a deeper set of questions surrounding things like, am I going to find a community, a support system, a company that wants to see me succeed? I think a lot of young professionals know they're not going to get their dream job right out of the gate. So they're really looking for an environment where they can create a dream opportunity setup, a place where they can grow and develop. And so I was really evaluating that dream opportunity set through three things. workplace, network, and community. Workplace culture, very important. Salaries negotiable. You know, the workplace culture is not, and it's something that's developed over a long period of time. I read some reporting that Indeed did not that long ago, highlighting how only one company out of the top 50 workplace companies that they've highlighted are headquartered here in the state. So I think Arizona has some ground to move in that area, but I'm really excited to see what we're going to do moving forward, because I think there's a bunch of phenomenal places to work here in the state. As far as GCU goes, I think we're really excited to try our to support young professionals in career development, career success, and sustainability. For us, that starts with data. When you have hundreds of thousands of alums in your database, it's difficult to develop personal relationships with each and every one, but we're trying our absolute best to look at data and see what can our university do to allow alumni the best shot of success possible. So we're currently integrating a software right now that's going to show us a lot about employment data and employment metrics on our alumni base. We're going to be able to see where our alumni are landing jobs, and that's going to let us evaluate program success. We're also going to be able to see where career trends are going, not just nationally, but regionally. So what does the West Valley need versus the East Valley versus the state of Arizona as a whole, which is really exciting to us when we're looking at building partnerships. We can see where our alum are coming from and where they're headed towards. And as far as a community college system goes, or where they're going to study post-grad. And we can also segment the data to see what companies are hiring young professionals. And then we can start having dialogues with them about, hey, what are things that are working for you? And can we take this to our partners? The way that we see young professional talent progressing moving forward is a lot of on-campus integration. Our Office of Strategic Employer Initiatives is working very hard to get companies on campus connecting with our student talent pipeline. And so if that's something that interests anybody, we would love to get you connected there. Our office specifically is really trying to focus on highlighting the community in general. There's a lot of events. We had a great meeting with Topgolf in the West Valley yesterday, just talking about how we can get young professionals out to some of the venues in the West Valley. And so if there are any venues or services that people have that they're interested in connecting our young professionals with, we would love to talk about that as well.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the progress meter, because that's kind of your metrics that you're all working on and follow. So in the young talent progress meter, equitable access to opportunity and upward mobility is clearly a key concern for young people across the state. And equality means equal education opportunities, cost of living, cost of housing. These are all key drivers when we look at our future that we have to factor in to make sure that this makes sense for us. So Susie, as a longtime resident of this region, what do you see, and somebody who works to bring business and business attraction to the West Valley, what do you think that the West Valley needs to, why is this such a great place for young talent? What do we have that will attract them today and into the future?
Sure. So great question. So I want to start with, it's been mentioned a couple of times, the median age in the West Valley is 35. So I want to lead with, we're already here. Right? The young talent were here. And so a couple of quick statistics, again, the West Valley is age 35. In my community, in the city of Buckeye, our actual median age is closer to 33. So again, very young talent. When you look at economic development, I mentioned, workforce is such a deciding factor for these business decisions and businesses coming here. You talked about bringing more headquarter operations, having that workforce is a big part of that. So a couple other stats that I pulled from MAG were in Maricopa County, just under 9% of their population is in the labor pool. Whereas in the West Valley, it's almost 11. And again, that's full of young talent. And just to compare that to just under 8% that's in the East Valley. So, we're here. I think the question is, well, why, right? Why does the young talent and the young professional find the West Valley so attractive? I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one is our diverse housing market. We have everything from entry-level homes to executive style living for that young professional that's just knocking it out of the park. But I think that that housing market that we have has actually become more prevalent because of the work from home model. Sintra had mentioned earlier that the West Valley communities are benefiting and seeing the financial benefit from this work from home model. And the young professional is absolutely taking advantage of that. And I want to talk a little bit about the work from home in a minute. But in addition to that, you know, the other quality of life factors that the West Valley has to offer, everything from Lake Pleasant in North Peoria to Skyline Regional Park in Buckeye to professional sports at Westgate with the Cardinals and the Coyotes. A fun fact that not a lot of people know about the West Valley is, you know, we're coming up on spring training season, and more than 50% of all of the Cactus League spring training facilities are right here in the West Valley. But it's not just that, it's the entertainment, the shopping, the dining, and more are being added every single day. So I just think that the overall quality of life in the West Valley is truly unmatched. But you had asked the question, you know, what are we doing to keep them? And so Sybil couldn't have teed that up better. You know, she had mentioned that between 10 and 15 years after graduation, our young professionals are leaving the state of Arizona because they feel like in order to move up in their career, they're having to move out. And so they're leaving. And so while they might be leaving for a number of different things, I think the West Valley is working hard to change that and to keep our young professionals here by attracting new businesses. So if you think back, Arizona used to be known for back office call centers. And today we couldn't be more different, right? I mean, the West Valley is known for finance and business services, for healthcare, for advanced manufacturing, for semiconductor industries, for entrepreneurship. The list goes on. And I think that as the West Valley continues to attract, you know, these new employers, these new headquarter operations, we're providing that gateway that the survey has shown that the young professional is looking for, that career opportunity, that long-term and diverse career can happen right here in Arizona, and we can retain our young talent. I want to kind of pivot and go back to the work from home model, right? I mean, we're all experiencing it now. We're doing this event in a virtual format, but this work from home model is also benefiting the young professional, I think, in two different ways. One, that young professional can have that better quality of life. They don't have to live in a downtown urban core. And again, the West Valley offers a variety of housing models that can benefit that young talent. They can work anywhere they want in Arizona. And frankly, they can work for companies not in Arizona, but benefit from the quality of life that Arizona has to offer. And conversely, I think the other thing that we're seeing with that is Arizona is continually importing new people and young talent out of California. People just don't want to deal with living in California anymore. And I think that what we're finding is the young professional doesn't have to live in Silicon Valley anymore. They can make California dollars. They can have the quality of life in Arizona. Sintra, you mentioned it earlier. They can come here where they're free to be whoever they want to be. So I think that this is going to actually help us retain our young talent, but also potentially attract additional young talent just because of the sheer quality of life that the West Valley has.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to tell the story of my stepson who is working for Amazon out of Silicon Valley, but he's living here in the Valley. So he is living in Arizona. He is making California dollars and he is contributing it to his community locally. So that is exactly where we're going. There was also an article in the Phoenix Business Journal probably about a month ago or so now that talked about exactly what you said is there are a lot of millennials are all of a sudden they're starting to look outside of the downtown area and to live in more of the suburban communities because there's more wide open spaces. We have a great quality of life. We have my favorite hiking trails at Skyline Park, and they're able to afford it. You know, it's a lot less expensive. So now that we get them, right? There are other things for them to do. And so about a year ago, we started a weekly email called West Valley Gems. And that the intent of West Valley Gems is to promote the things that we know about that are in our neighborhood, but they're unique. So whether it's a cool hiking trail, whether it's a cool kitschy new restaurant that's opened up, an event that should have happened but didn't, or whether it's an activity on Lake Pleasant, we have those opportunities and we're really pushing that information out. So if you don't get our gems, make sure you sign up for West Valley Gems on our website. So sorry, that had to be a little shameless plug because there is so much going on and I do want people to know about it. Kylie, you've also done a lot of work in the similar area with GPL. Anything else that you think that needs to be added from a larger perspective on this?
Yeah. One of the primary messages that I'd like people to take away is that young talent wants to feel supported. Young talent wants to see that pipeline there where they can invest in themselves so that they can stay with the company long term. And they want to feel represented at the table, or at least that the leadership is representing their values. 2020 was a difficult year, and our members saw an opportunity, not just in the CFA Young Voices survey, but in other surveys, the Edelman Trust Barometer and Morning Consult polls that have showed that it is a moment to step up and speak out for CEOs. The Morning Consult poll found that 83% of Americans say they appreciate CEOs making public statements on social issues, and 73% of Americans say CEOs are responsible for setting an example for their employees and leading change on matters of racial inequities. That's why the CEOs of Greater Phoenix Leadership stepped up to sign on to or create a letter, a pledge that 200 other CEOs signed on to, stating a commitment to fight systemic racism and racial injustices in the community and within their own organizations. That led to us creating the Racial Equity Advancement Project, which committed us to applying a racial equity lens across all of our public policy and legislative work. And that is why the CEOs are speaking out more than ever before, trying to get behind ideas like Project Rocket, which actually started right here in the West Valley, trying to help get extra dollars to students that need them, students that might be struggling in low-performing schools or low socioeconomic communities. They're also speaking out about the need to invest in the New Economy Initiative and programs like the Arizona Promise Scholarship so that we can continue creating and allowing access for low-income students to get into higher education and increase our post-secondary levels. That's something that's really important to our members, and we have a more robust legislative agenda than ever before, and they're challenging other CEOs and business leaders, community leaders to step up and advocate for this type of stuff as well. One of our members, Adam Goodman of Goodman Interior Structures, wrote an opinion op-ed in the Arizona Republic that I thought was incredible. He thought that he owned a woke furniture company all his life, but he actually did an analysis looking at the racial statistics within his organization and compared them regionally to see how he stacked up in wages, occupational sorting, all sorts of metrics. And he found out that they actually were doing their company a disservice. While 70% of their leadership was white, 56% of their organization was Hispanic, 77% of their leadership was white. And he thought that did an incredible disservice to the mission that he associates with his company. And so he's challenging other CEOs to do these analysis inside their organizations as well, so that we can close the achievement gap and really propel our economy into the future.
Awesome, thank you. I'm glad you brought up the focus and the attention on systemic racism. I'd like to share a little bit about a program that we're working with Arizona Town Hall. Some of the West Valley leadership groups got together earlier last year and have been working through to put on a listening session that's coming up. So it's a series of 3 listening sessions on February 16th, 19th, and 20th. So go check it out our website, make sure you sign up for it. Space is limited because we want to listen to people and we want to learn from what they're saying. But the organizations of Leadership West, West Valley Arts Council, the Glendale Chamber, the State of Black Arizona, CFA, WESTMARC, and Arizona Town Hall are all partnering on this important conversation. And so I'm really glad that you're bringing this up, Kylie, because it tells us that the future generation is absolutely going to be quite different in how they look at things, and we really need to be aware of it. So thank you. Let's see. So one of the other prominent themes that came up in the in the Young Talent Progress Meter is the desire, again, to be listened to be engaged, and to make an impact. And, clearly that's what we're doing here with you all today. We really get that if we're not listening to the future, we're really disconnected, and that's not where we want to go. So tell us, Kylie, tell us a little bit about some of the ways that you see young leaders stepping into these leadership roles. You have a great opportunity to work at GPL with all of these amazing CEOs around the state. So stepping into leadership, how do you see this young leader stepping into leadership, formal, informal ways? What's needed in the region? What's needed in the West Valley? What types of mentoring programs would be beneficial here?
So a group of us actually got together following the release of this survey because we felt that the data was so rich and important that we needed to get it out there and make it more available to a broader audience and to bring more voices into it. So we've actually developed an Arizona Young Professionals Unsummit, which is a little bit different than a traditional summit. It's going to be a lot more interactive, and we are reaching out to all the young professional organizations across the state. And I appreciate you bringing it up because we wanted to mention that if anybody watching this wants to make sure that their young professional organization is included in this summit, please let us know. Contact one of us on this panel, somebody at CFA, Sintra. We would love to get you engaged in that. The summit would be have two different tracks where we would target conversations with business leaders to not have them speak at us, but talk to them about what we're looking for and to try to figure out what we can do to move the needle on some of these metrics that young talent are looking for. The second track would be to meet with legislators and policymakers to see where we can move the needle. So we really want to just take this data and distill it down to what we can do to then get behind those and see what we can do as young professionals to raise awareness, advocate for these policies, to make sure that Arizona is the Arizona that we want into the future.
Awesome. Thank you. I also want to mention there's so many mentoring programs that are going on around the region. And we tend to be kind of that collection hub where people come to us and they let us know what they're working on. And one of those is Valleywise Health Foundation has a mentoring program, and they're actually looking for a couple of mentees. And so if you're interested or you know someone, either student age, college age to 35 years old, contact me because we need to fill about a couple of slots by February 15th, and we'd love to have some representation from the West Valley in there. So yeah, lots of opportunities to be a mentor and to be mentored. So contact us. So we're kind of nearing a little bit of the end of our time. We have about 15 minutes or so. And I'd like to just just go back around with you guys, and starting with Noah. What are some takeaways that you've heard today? You were part of the young talent group that we had initially, and you mentioned that at the beginning of the conversation. And that was a really interesting. So let me back up. Let me tell you my takeaway. My takeaway from that group was, one of the people at the table said, "You guys like to invite us into meetings, so we can absorb the information, but we have a lot to say. And you don't really seem concerned about what we have to say. You just want to have, the younger people sitting at the table." So I hope that this dialogue has really turned this around and is, the trajectory for where we're going to be going in the future. So tell us, give us a takeaway from today based on kind of the first interaction that you had compared to where we are today and all in between.
Absolutely. Well, it has been very, very exciting to watch the amount of progress that has taken place in so many different areas. I think since that conversation, I would say that the opportunity right now for the state could not be better to keep the momentum going, investing into young talent. I was reading some content that was published by U-Haul the other day, and it talked about how Arizona went from fifth from 20th to 5th on the list of one-way rentals, and a lot coming out of California, like we've mentioned before. And then it went in a little bit more in depth and highlighted a lot of those people are young professionals looking for a place to start their futures. So I think the opportunity couldn't be better. I would encourage anybody on this call to really think, where can I start today? You know, my life has been so impacted by people who are willing to just take 15, 20 minutes out of their schedule and sit down with me and answer a couple of questions. That can go a long way in a young professional's life. And so beyond these massive programs and conversations that need to happen, and I'm excited watching them take place, I think also there are so many little things that we can do in our day-to-day lives that impact young professionals on a regular basis. And as people that are further along in their careers start adapting that mentality, I think it leads to a tremendous amount of growth and change in our community. So I want to echo thanks. It has been incredible to watch people like this, individuals on the panel, as well as everybody else that's participated in this work, start having a seat at the table and be able to contribute. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'm looking forward to what it looks like down the road in the future.
Thank you. You know, that's funny. And before we go to Susie, I'll just tell you that my daughter is starting to meet with some of the adults in my life and the folks that I'm connecting her with. And it's the same thing. It's so appreciative. And it sounds, when I was listening to you, I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is what she comes back and she tells me. So it really is impactful. And I think just hearing it, hearing the impact that it's made on you and the gratitude is really rewarding for somebody like me. So Susie, you know, you were at that first table also. So what do you think from then to now to where are we going in the future?
Yeah, sure. No, and I want to echo, you know, what Noah said. I've had some amazing mentors in my career, and I don't think that I would be where I am without them. And so I do encourage people to, you know, pay it forward, right? So find a mentor, get involved. But I also want to encourage people, you know, the takeaways are there's some really great programs for businesses out there. I mean, you want to tap into the incoming workforce and you want to really build the workforce that you want, you know, programs like at Grand Canyon where you can get on the ground floor. I just encourage businesses to get involved in this conversation, get involved in the future of your business and its success and its business leaders is the young talent. But I also want to kind of flip that and say, you know, everyone on this call or in your local communities, get involved, you know, get involved with the Center for the Future of Arizona, call WESTMARC. You know, they are change makers and WESTMARC is doing amazing things for the West Valley to change it and to see it grow and to see it adapt. And there's just so many opportunities for you to get involved. If you have a particular topic or a passion that you want to see the change, one of my mentors is coined the term, be the change you want to see. Mm-hmm. And so I just encourage you to, you know, reach out, get involved, contact one of us. We would be happy to put you in connection. And absolutely, you know, if you want to be involved in the Unsummit, we would welcome you. So anything that you can take away from this is the young talent is here. We are driven, and we want to be part of that conversation. We want to see positive change. We are here to do good, and we want to do good with you. So just get involved.
Awesome. Thank you. Kylie.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what you both said. The time is now and get involved. The time is now because coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, the policies that we put into place right now are truly going to define where we are in 50 years. That's why it's important to get involved. That's why it's important for CEOs and business leaders to speak up in support of democratic outcomes, civil discourse, closing the achievement gaps in third grade reading and eighth grade math, increasing post-secondary attainment and access so that we can really support these young professionals and keep them here and have the type of state that wants them to grow a family here and stay here. So thank you for having us. It's an honor to always be with you all.
Awesome, thank you. And so I saw a message in the chat box from Bobby Mastracci, and she was talking about one of the programs or a couple of the programs that, let me get to that. So CCIM and SIOR have a young professional mentee and mentor programs. And I had reached out to Bobby and a couple of the other real estate brokers in the West Valley, because one of the things that I noticed was that as we were working towards educating the brokerage community on who the West Valley is, we were really trying to target folks and change their minds, right? And bring them in from outside and change their minds on who the West Valley is and educate them. And it dawned on me that, wait a minute, we've got a whole bunch of people that are right here in the West Valley that we don't have to change their minds. They know what's going on, they live it. And so these are some things that we'll be working on in 21 to really grow our own brokerage community here, because these folks know what's going on. So you've all given us so many things to think about, so many places to go and to work on. And I know that I look forward to working with you all on it. I know when we initially met with the first group a couple of years ago, we thought, okay, let's form a group and let's have our own West Valley group. And then, you know, Kylie reached out a few months ago and said, hey, we've got this group going on. And my thing is, don't reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of wheels out there, so we just have the right spoke on it. And I'm so glad that you're all in that group and you can bring this conversation from the West Valley into a larger region and back and forth, because really we are one big community, whether West Valley, Maricopa County, or the state of Arizona. We're all here and we're all in it together. So thank you all for being with us today. I'd also like to thank Astoria Community College. You know, again, we are doing some pretty unusual things with bringing a live audience, a live panel here, and taking it away from kind of the Zoom, you know, Hollywood Squares type of event. We're really trying to move beyond that. But we're not able to do things like that without strong partnerships like we have with Astoria Community College. We're here in their beautiful Performing Arts Center, and honestly, I can't wait until we're here watching a live performance. Not that you guys weren't live earlier today. I'd also like to thank the Board of Directors. They, again, they are one amazing group that have worked side by side with me to really elevate what the organization to WESTMARC to where it is today, and to take us into the future. I'm so excited to work with Neil. Neil brings a whole different flavor into the organization, but at the same time, working over the last 5 years with Bobby, with John, and with Neil, it's been a really great continuum, and so I'm looking forward to it. Exciting things ahead. I just want to give you, I think you've seen some of the programs that we have coming up, but I just want to announce just a couple coming up. Make sure you check out our website for the Hot Topic series, the Industry Spotlight series, and then we have our Economic Development Summit coming up on May 11th. And then we also have, just prior to that, a partnership with Top Golf and Leadership West, where we'll be hosting our Top Golf tournament on April 15th. It's tax day, so you got to come out and celebrate with us. So thank you all for joining us today, and have a wonderful day.